Hello traders, this is Rich from tradesight. This is a look at our leading stocks via our proprietary scans for the coming session. This is going to be for Friday, September 13th, 2013. Got a down session going today so far, and I think we're seeing it reflected in the scans pretty well. We're down a little bit across the board here, but nothing really too dramatic just yet. We are a little bit to the sell side here in the scans. First Solar's got a downside CPS condition. It's about 2% below the day's open. That's something that we played on the short side in the lab today. Volume bump here in Qualcomm. Played that also. And Sina is catching a volume bump as well. Sina's got a camouflage sell signal, and that should not be passed on, in my opinion. Take a look at the financials. Kind of about the same tilt. A little bit to the sell side. Not too much in the way of volume. We've got a little bit of decent volume in USB, but we do have a nice volume bump in MasterCard that has an upside CPS condition. If you notice the JP Morgan shares, about 2.5% below the day's open, and that one's sporting a downside CPS, so that's going to be on my watch list for tomorrow. Energy names, not too much here. ACI is pretty weak, 4.5% below the day's open. Also seeing some real good weakness in PBR on some decent volume. And also Valero. Valero has a downside CPS and a volume bump. Keep an eye on the other refiners. Most of them are pretty weak today, and I think you're going to find some similar setups with those. As far as the generals go, we're a little bit skewed to the downside here. Probably a little bit more universally than most of our other groups. Disney today has a differential sell signal, had a strong day on volume, but it's pulled off the high significantly. No other real volume bumps here, except for the Dow, DOW. Dow Chemical is 2.5% or thereabouts below the day's open and sporting a downside sell signal. Housing, no signals here and no volume bumps. In the transports, we've got downside signal in FDX and NSC. Both of those are substantially below the day's open, and that FDX has a volume bump with it. Also seen a volume bump in CSX. Hasn't qualified for a signal yet, but we still got a few minutes before the close. And finally, here's a look at the commodities. I've got a volume bump in double G. Most of the precious metals are pretty weak. Right now, gold's down $41 on the low of the day. So the precious metal names are all under pressure from that. Mosaic's got a downside CPS. Potash is sporting a differential buy, which means it's starting to lift off the day's low. So that might be a long play tomorrow if the tape gives us support for that. Well, as always, thanks for listening. This has been Rich for tradesight.